going on, everyone? Welcome back to yet another episode for the CB450 build series, and today we will be painting the engine. As you can tell, I have been grinding away at masking everything off. There's no point in me filming that because it's literally just taping things off, and so you can tell I've been working on it pretty hard in this crazy heat. I'm dripping sweat, but without further ado, we are going to get this engine ready, primed and painted, and underway. So without further ado, let's roll into the intro and get right into this episode. Ow.
Forget
All right, guys, now that we have the engine all painted and I brought you through that whole process, there was a few steps that I left out and that I would like to hop on the tripod and talk to you about. A summary of the whole experience, the process, and what I do to paint motors and engines and what paint I use, things like that. So let's hop on the tripod and I'll get right into it. Well, I don't know if you can see, but the engine is in the frame right here currently, fully painted. Yes, a few chips did happen on the process of putting the frame on. However, it's inevitable. What are you gonna do? The reason why I hopped on the tripod is to walk through the process of painting the engine and the necessary steps I took to get it prepped, painted, and what paint I used to paint it. So, first things first, you wanna make sure all grease is off of the motor. Where paint will be laying, grease should not be there. I recommend spending a lot of time using brake clean, using Windex, using Purple Power, degreaser, and then final steps, once you use Scotch-Brite pads and sanding wheels and everything like that, you want to use acetone. The last step before paint is acetone. Get all that grease off as much as you possibly can. Of course, there's so many nooks and crannies. You can't get everywhere, but do your best. Unless you're taking the engine fully apart, splitting the cases, taking the heads off, all that stuff, then that's different. You could get everything fully blasted, fully done, and painted properly, even powder coated. Let me take a step or two back in terms of prep. So one thing from experience I've learned of what not to use are steel wire brushes, or just wire brushes in general. And if you do use wire brushes, be very careful with them, because as they start to heat up and the faster they move, the more grooves and lines it's gonna put into the aluminum. Aluminum isn't, it's cast, so it's not super, super hard stuff, and it could get marred with the, revolutions, high-speed revolutions of a wire brush. So I stay away from a wire brush, and I go all by hand. I know that kind of stinks, but you don't have to go crazy. And I have no issues so far with that type of process. So once you go through the prep, it's time to paint. I am a huge believer in Duplicolor high heat engine paint. I think it lays the best. I think it sprays the best. I think it's the most resistant to fuel the best. I painted the CB450 with the Duplicolor engine high heat paint. I've spilled gas on the cases a few times and oil and whatnot, and it cleans right up, does not react, does not bubble. So it's very good. The one thing is, this stuff isn't at its most resistant to fuels and oils until it goes through its first heat cycle. So unless you have an oven, great, throw it in the oven, but you'll have to wait. If you don't have an oven, you'll have to wait until your first heat cycle of the engine running. So kind of be careful until then, or else, it's easier to chip the paint. Once it's heat cured, it's pretty untouchable. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed that process of me going through and prepping and painting the engine. I went ahead and, as you can see in some of on some of the clips, I left a few of the cases silver. I know those look kind of oxidized still. I have not sanded them. I started the process of sanding them, and basically we're going to go through and kind of polish those. I wanted a little black and white contrast of that satin black to that polished engine case. I'm not going to go full mirror polish. It's going to be a nice brushed look. That's kind of going to wrap it up for this episode. I wanted to just hop on quick and give a debrief, if you will, for the process of the engine, because I know I missed out on a few clips of what the process was just because I needed to keep the ball rolling. But if anyone has any questions, as always, of course, drop a comment below or message me on Instagram or here. If you're enjoying this build series, please give a like and a subscribe to this episode and channel. But in the meantime, as always, my MZR fam, we are one team, one family, and as always, thanks for being the dopest crowd out there, and let's get this 450 put back together as soon as we possibly can. I'm still bouncing between school, but we're making do. Here's a little sneak peek. Not too shabby. Not too shabby.